Oh, we've got beautiful music to start this show today with our favorite Waitbot. Hello, everybody. Hello. Really soon. Welcome to Barsha. Right now, you are going to be watching episode 23, which is my friend and yours, Stephen Skybell. I will invite him to video now, but I'm letting him actually make an entrance. So he's just sitting there waiting on the stage till everyone gets here. Hi, Sheila. Hello, Martha. Hi, Charlotte. Hi, everybody. So this is going to be a great show today, and I will invite my friend Stephen in 1 minute. Meanwhile, everybody, why don't you broadcast to the world? See the little 2 white lines there? You can broadcast there to our firesiders or to the rest of the world. There we go. Yes! Oh, this Waitbot is playing such beautiful music. I love it. There is my beautiful friend Stephen, and I'm going to invite Stephen to the video. Stephen, welcome.
Barsha.
Everyone is reacting to you the minute you came on the screen. Really, I mean, this is amazing. What I do, I'm in the basement of my mother's house. I'd just like to say that. Martha
Yes.
Barsha, and she's here on the bottom. I always do a little welcome song for my guests, so I'm going to do yours now.
All right.
Where do you go on Mondays when you want to have fun? Where can you go on Mondays when your day is done? Well, Fireside Chat is where it's at. Our guests are all the best. He's not a bicycle bell, doorbell, or even a cowbell. He's yours and my bell. He's Stephen Skybell. Help me in welcoming Stephen Skybell. Okay.
Thank you.
Listen, you know, I said to you, what rhymes with Skybell? Okay, Skybell. All right. All right. So listen, Stephen, let me give you a proper introduction. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you.
As we know, Stephen most recently starred in the off-Broadway production. Well, most recently did Karen Hartman's play The Lucky Star, but what I advertised you as is the Yiddish Fiddler on the Roof. Fiddler on the Roof in Yiddish. Can we have a big... Now, let me just say that I saw that production, okay? But you don't understand who Stephen Skybell is. Number one, he was on Broadway. He got the, by the way, 2019 Lucille Lortel Award for that. Outstanding performance by a lead actor in a musical. I was there. I saw it, which I'm going to be referring to. But Broadway credits. You did 2016 Fiddler on the Roof, Pal Joey, Wicked, Full Monty, Love, Valour, Compassion, Cafe Crown, All Wilderness. I mean, come on, everybody. Come on.
Come on, everybody.
Stephen, more things will come up as more will be revealed. But I want to say, first of all, thank you for being here because I know what you're about to do. You told me. Why don't you tell everybody what you're about to do in Chicago?
I will. Well, thank you. Thank you, Deborah, for inviting me. We've been talking about trying to do this for a while, and now it worked out today. And I know today is your anniversary, and I thank you for letting this happen on today, because this was basically the only day I could do, only Monday in the foreseeable future. And I'm leaving on the weekend for Chicago. I realize this is probably an assignment that very few Tevyes have had, which is I will be going to the Lyric Opera of Chicago to make my operatic debut as Tevye in English. from a production that originated at the Komische Oper Berlin, directed by a gentleman named Barrie Kosky, and they're doing it at the Lyric Opera. So I start that next week, and we'll do that until October. And then I have a week turnaround and start rehearsals in the city for the Yiddish Fiddler revival that begins on November 13th in the city.
If anybody hasn't seen this, you must see this. We've all seen Fiddler on the Roof. We've even played parts in Fiddler on the Roof. I was Seidel when I was in middle school. But you have never seen anything like this. I want to ask you a couple questions first about Fiddler, and then I really want to go with how you got there from your childhood, believe it or not, because we want to get to know you. So first of all, with Fiddler, it's about Joel Grey, isn't it? What is it about that? How did this happen?
Well, the Yiddish Fiddler, and yes. I can conduct this interview in both Yiddish and English because I'm doing both English. No, I can't. But I'm saying the Yiddish Fiddler, although I have been studying Yiddish, but I couldn't have an interview in Yiddish yet. But the Yiddish Fiddler began, I'll tell you this, my better half, that you, first of all, Deborah, we could tell people that we could be doing, if you weren't in Syracuse at your mother's, we could be doing it side by side because we live in the same town in Putnam County. Before you start, this is great because this is a very loose format. I love you for doing back and forth like this. I just want to say something about where we live. We live, as his husband Michael would say, a crow's flight from each other in 1 minute, like 2 minutes. That's right.
But we do live around the corner from each other. We've eaten together in restaurants. And Stephen, may I just remind you, when I was doing the Donna Summer musical and you were studying on the train,
I remember.
For Fiddler on the Roof in Yiddish, I'd say, where are you going? I'm going to the quiet car so I can learn Yiddish. That's what he said to me all the time. Okay, go ahead.
Right. So I remember that so well. You knew my headache on the train. So Michael, my husband, better half, said to me, did you know, he saw it on Facebook. He said, did you know that Joel Grey is directing a Yiddish Fiddler on the Roof? And I said, no. And I usually never pursue parts. It's the actor's recipe for heartbreak. So, but I called my agent and I said, hey, do you know that Joel Grey is directing a Yiddish Fiddler on the Roof? And my agent was like, never heard of it. And I thought, well, you don't have to look far because it's on social media. But anyway, He inquired about it, and this is the story that came to me through my agent. Now everyone is saying it's not true, But my agent said to me that they said they were already in conversation with a Broadway actor to do it, and that actor is rethinking the Yiddish challenge. And so I said to my agent, well, you tell them, one, I've worked with Joel Grey, which I had worked with Joel Grey at Two River. I know you have a relationship with Two River Theater in Red Bank. And so that was true. And then the other thing I said is tell them that I speak Yiddish, which was not true. It was kind of true. I had studied Yiddish, but I certainly couldn't fluently hold a conversation in it. But anyway, they brought me in to audition. For Joel, and they asked me, the Volksbühne people asked me at that audition, Zalman Mlotek, who is now a very, very dear friend and colleague, and we performed together a great deal, said to me at that audition, so how is it that you speak Yiddish? From how I had auditioned in Yiddish. So I took that as a good sign, and I said, well, I don't really speak it, but I studied it, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, one thing led to another, and I got cast in the role, and at that time, it was only to be a 6-week gig downtown at the Museum of Jewish Heritage. And I thought, well, and you've heard this, I've said this a great deal. I was always looking for a production of Fiddler on the Roof for age-appropriate me, because I played him at summer camp when I was 17, Tevye. I played him at college at 22, and I was finally wanting to find an adult production. So the joke is I found it, but it was in Yiddish. Yes. And I thought, who's going to see it? And what will this be? Well, if anything, it'll just be a summer curiosity for me, a challenge for me. But Joel Grey is here, and it's bound to be interesting. And little did we all know that it would have touched such a nerve. But that's how it began. I pursued it, which is not like me, and I auditioned, and thankfully it came my way.
I love it. I
Yeah,
love it. Now listen, I
yeah,
saw that, and unlike other Fiddler in the Roof, where it brings up my heritage, and I'm thinking of Anatevka, I'm thinking of my grandfather who came over from the Ukraine at that time was
yeah,
Russia, and the whole thing. And our name was Barshovsky before it was changed to Barsha. Thank you.
yeah. Skabelsky. I was Skabelsky.
There we are.
Yeah,
So I was thinking about all, but this production is different because we know, and it's in our blood, those of us that lived with looking up to Fiddler on the Roof. I didn't sometimes even want to look at the subtitles.
right.
I wanted to experience it viscerally. And what
Yeah,
you gave us, I have to say, and just, is something about that Tevye in Sholem Aleichem's kind of uh, vibe, I want to say, that
yeah,
I could just experience it. Every once in a while, I'd look up to this, like we want to talk about, just can you tell everybody
yeah.
what the Yiddish lyrics of If I Were a Rich Man are in Yiddish if we directly translated them? Say
Sure.
them first in Yiddish, just for
Yeah.
a little. Go ahead.
Wenn ich bin a Rothschild, if I were a Rothschild, and and the and this Yiddish version was done in Israel in 1966, and they had the blessing of Shraga Friedman, the actor director, who petitioned the creators to do a Yiddish version. So they sanctioned he added a little more Sholem Aleichem in it. And so Sholem Aleichem wrote a story called If I Were a Rothschild. I don't believe it's a Tevye story, but it is a story that he wrote. And that's an example in the Yiddish Fiddler that I love so much, because that Tevye knows who Rothschild is puts him absolutely in the world, not just in a little fairy tale shtetl, but that even in the Pale Settlement of Russia, Jews would admire and look up to the idea of a Rothschild. And so even Tevye knows that maybe I'm not a Rothschild today, but I know there are Rothschilds. And I loved how that, even just having that lyric, puts him in the world context of Jewry.
I love it. And
Yeah,
like I said, viscerally, I was kind of crying from beat one.
yeah,
Also,
yeah,
because for me as a musician and arranger and composer, just to
yeah,
have that klezmer orchestra kind of a
yeah,
thing,
yeah,
that was intense
yeah.
also.
I agree.
And oh my God, to hear it done like that. And I have to tell you something. I just saw that incredible documentary, and I didn't know any of this was from a Marc Chagall painting.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
I don't know how that escaped me all these years,
yeah.
but so this is a really kind of bizarre question. You must have been asked this at some point, but what does the fiddler represent to you?
It's such a good question. I mean, it is. I do believe it's intentionally ambiguous. And I just want to say again. I mean, I know that I think any director who has to address who the fiddler is. And I know that Barrie Kosky in the Chicago Fiddler that's coming up has given some great thought as to who that fiddler is. And without giving anything away, it's a young boy is the fiddler, and so that is interesting, very interesting to me. And I don't know that Joel intentionally did this. I think they cast the person who they thought was the one that could play the violin and could, do what the fiddler needed to do. But they cast a woman as a fiddler, as our fiddler in the Yiddish.
Yes.
And the thing I loved about that is because Tevye is swirling with all these females around him, his daughters, his wife, then there's Yenta, and that even the fiddler would also have a female-ish persona, I thought was really interesting. And before I will even attempt to say who the fiddler is, I'll go to the final moment of the show, which has always had great meaning to me, is that, spoiler alert, they're kicked out of their town.
They kicked out of Anatevka. Okay, go ahead.
Right. which is which is Ukraine. So let's just let that resonate.
Yep.
And the last thing that happens in the musical is that all the villagers disperse, the Jewish villagers, and the last thing is the fiddler appears for one last time, playing that melody, and Tevye looks back to the fiddler with his loaded up cart and gestures, come along with us. And I take that as such a hopeful message, which is to say, if the fiddler represents tradition, if the fiddler represents Jewishness, if the fiddler represents shtetl life, Tevye's saying we may be thrown out, and we may be forced out because of you, fiddler, that they would prefer we not take you with us, but we will take you with us. And wherever we go, we will be the same, So I love that final gesture, which is come with us.
I also, for me, I'm just going to tell you, for me, it's always about the Jews in the shtetl looking up. He's on a roof.
Yeah. That's interesting. Sure.
He's not on the ground.
Yeah.
I always thought it's hope. For some reason, it's
I love that. But it's precarious. You could fall off and break your neck,
That's true. It's dangerous. It is dangerous. It is dangerous. Right. But if you have to think it's also God to me, because it's like, where is something coming from? Where is that melody coming from? The unknown, that's my thing. That is not your thing, obviously.
No, but it's beautiful. But that's the thing, is that I do think they intentionally didn't say the fiddler is X,
Yeah, of course.
So it really wants to have that mystery behind it and largeness of possibility, so that anyone can really see something reflected in the fiddler.
And of those of you who don't think that you know any Yiddish, you've been using a lot of it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I just found out?
What?
That the word glitch is Yiddish.
Yeah.
So whenever you say, "Oh, my computer's glitching," hello, you're speaking Yiddish.
That's
Thank
Yiddish.
you.
Mishmash is Yiddish.
Mishmash. I wrote down some of the ones that, of course, everybody knows schmuck and all those. But chutzpah, everybody knows. Right. Shtick. That's his shtick. Everybody. Yeah. Mishigas. I use Mishigas all the time. Oive. Chachka. I always say, these little chachkas over here. Yeah. I don't even know I'm using it. But glitch freaked me out.
That's funny.
So all right. So, all right. I wrote down a lot. All right. Now, I want to ask you something about what you said before. It kind of has to do with marginalized communities, because we are intersectionally marginalized. We're LGBTQ, and you're playing the Yiddish version of Fiddler on this. So all these things that are coming up today, this is so rife with meaning right now.
I agree.
Do you think that is why? How many months did it run at the Downtown Jewish Heritage?
Well, it ran from June to December, so it was 6 weeks.
Which is insane for a non-traditional. Yeah. We don't even have shows down there. For anybody that doesn't know.
And then it transferred uptown, ran for another year.
And you did a cast album.
Yeah, which is I can die tomorrow having done that cast album, because it's the greatest testament of what we did, and the fact that that our little successful Yiddish fiddler has a document that one can constantly listen to is really, I'm so delighted that we were able to do that.
And now it's coming back. They're just saying people are asking for it. Is that what's happening? What's happening here?
Well, the thing about Fiddler on the Roof, everybody knows it's an incredible musical. It has great bones. It's incredible entertainment.
Yes.
And it's funny. but it's about family. Everybody can identify with family and the rumblings of family and the constraints of parents and the children trying to break free. Everybody identifies with that. And then the last final movement of the musical, where people are forced out of their homes and a certain intolerance shows its head, that is something that everyone is responding to who has seen it. And just to say, a lot of Jews saw our musical, a lot of Holocaust survivors, and there was something so meaningful to me to know that there may be people out in the audience who this will be their last chance before 120 to hear Yiddish on the stage. So there's that kind of thing. But our greatest poster child was Christine Ebersol, who saw the show twice, and twice afterwards was just an emotional basket case. And she said the first time, she said, "This is the Bible," which I didn't. And I asked her the next time, like, "I remember you said it was like the Bible." She said, "No, I didn't say it was like the Bible. I said it is the Bible." And what I take that to mean is there's real deep lessons to learn from Fiddler on the Roof, and there, yeah,
including how to talk to God. Tevye talks
exactly.
to. How to talk to God is like, that's what with a sense of humor and a sense of. I mean, it's insane. It's like, that's what I got. He's like joking. He's. I realized it during that production. He's talking to God in a way that. It's the most private moment, yet he's doing it. It's just hard to explain.
I agree. And, Barrie Kosky, who'll be doing the English Fiddler at Chicago, we met on Zoom, and he said to me, and I think this is a really interesting idea, that God is his only friend, that Tevye really that's who he can talk to. And there is in the Jewish movement of like the Breslov or Hasidic movement really tries to say one doesn't need to go to the synagogue and open the prayer book to speak to God. And he actually says to really be close to God, it can happen anytime you want, and you want to talk to him like a friend. And out in nature is in some ways the best place to do it. So I think about Tevye on his cart, just going through the Russian countryside and talking to God, And I said to Barrie Kosky recently, and he agreed immediately that, and you would probably agree too, Deborah, as a composer of musicals, that if anybody were to write a musical today where the protagonist speaks consistently with God, producers are going to be like, I don't know, we have to really rethink this. I mean, you're going to really be limiting what the show can do and where it can go. But it's really, I mean, and when I won the Lortel, I thanked God as a scene partner, because so much of what Tevye does is addressed to God, and there really, for me, is a journey, an arc of his relationship with God as the play progressed.
And that is the other part of it as an actor, that I actually believed that you were getting messages back from God. So I don't know. I don't want to ask what your subtext was or anything, but I was like, oh my God, he really is talking. He's not just talking one way. So that's one thing. But I do want to say something that was very poignant to me. I never realized this till I saw the documentary. He never talks to God again after Chava leaves.
He never says anything to him in the musical.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Harvey Fierstein says that in the documentary.
He does. Is that true? And I was going to ask you about that.
It is true that he does not. He speaks to God right before he gets word about Chavela, and then he no more addresses him. Never addresses him again. But I don't believe he's done talking to God. I don't believe that.
Okay.
And in our production, I definitely had a silent connection to God after after I said goodbye to Laser and we're all leaving. I still had the connection to God, and so I think he goes through phases with God.
Okay.
And another thing about that is that I'll just say this if I can. At the beginning of the second act, after the spoiler alert pogrom at the end of the first act, where the wedding is ruined. So at the beginning of the second act, another moment that I really liked to explore, and sometimes the stage manager was like, you got to move it along. I would come out and he starts by talking to God. And the interesting thing, he tells God, Zeitel and Motel have been married almost 2 months now. And I'm thinking, why does Tevye let's not say it's just exposition. Why does Tevye have to tell God that? And the thing I really liked to play was that it had been almost 2 months that he hadn't spoken to God. So since the wedding, there has been no communication. And now, just as the second act begins, Tevye's saying, I think I'm ready, and I need to ask for this sewing machine for my now son-in-law. And so, but I feel like there has been a break in communication, and that probably happens as it happens in life. We get close and then we get far away,
Yeah, I did want to ask you about that, and I'm not a bad Jew. I said Chava, it's Chava. I can say it. I can.
Well, that's because at the Folkspina they drilled it into our little tongues that we had to have that sound.
Ha, I got it. Now, but what I was saying before about marginalized community, I also think it resonates. What really blew me away also in that documentary, not to bring it up, but it blew me away, was the Japan version of Fiddler on the Roof, that they really related to it and that other cultures relate to it because it's got so many themes that are resonant for so many people.
Yes, indeed.
And including She's Dead to Me when someone comes out as gay, LGBTQ,
For sure.
And not marrying another Jew, that's why I think,
it definitely. I do think with the three daughters, and the first daughter wants to marry her own choice. That's one thing, but it's still within the shtetl, and it's somebody that they know. The second daughter wants to leave home, and follow her love, and so that's an even further step. And then the third daughter, I do agree with you that she becomes representative of turning your back on Jewishness and choosing a love mate who is unacceptable. And so I do think it has those kinds of resonance. And I'll tell you this, when I first did Tevye at the age of 17 at Interlochen National Music Camp in Interlochen, Michigan, the first time I sang the song Chavela, I broke down crying. And I didn't even know why. I can't even tell you why. I couldn't have told you why. And I do think there is something about my burgeoning sexuality at that time. And the lyric of everybody's favorite child. She was everybody's favorite child, Tevye calls her. And to have gone from that kind of special status in the father's eyes to feeling, I mean, I don't know that he knows it at the moment that he's singing the song, but that he's going to turn his back on her. And we don't know for how long that will be. But to have her fall from the favorite child status by what she's done resonated with me as a child at that time, as well as trying to impersonate the father, but just what it is to disappoint your parents that deeply and possibly that profoundly resonated with me.
We are a family of 4 girls. My father was the only male in the family, and he was an anchorman on the news, so he was on an inanimate object all the time. Anyway, but I'm just thinking to myself what my father I mean, listening to you talk, I really do think about what my father was doing in a house full of women, his wife and 4 girls. It must have been intense. And I think maybe that's why Fiddler always resonated with me too. Because we
Yeah,
were
for
looking
sure. I'm
towards
sure
this
it
man.
did.
But I love the sisterly love aspect of, and tell me if I'm wrong with this, that Chava says, thinks in her own brain, well, Seidel, got dad to like loosen
Yeah.
up a little bit.
Yeah. Right.
Why don't I? Not realizing the enormity of
Yeah.
what she was doing,
Exactly.
So anyway,
Right. But it is it is also telling to me. And again, I really, I mean, I won't say what I feel deeply, whether or not Tevye ever will say, come to America, you two, and let's invite you for dinner into our home. I don't know what happens, but I do know that it is Zeitel, the eldest daughter, in that moment at the end of the play when Tevye will not talk to his daughter, and and Golda subsequently barely will talk to her daughter. It is Zeitel who talks to her, and it's the eldest daughter who makes that, who says, I'm not going to turn my back on you. And then in that regard, Tevye yet again is following his daughter's lead.
right.
All of them, he really follows their lead.
I know.
It's delightful. It's delightful to me that he was surrounded by all those women, and that he's a milkman. And the cows are all women who are giving the milk. So he's just surrounded by like the eternal feminine.
Yes. And you know what? That brings me to your version of Do You Love Me?
Yeah.
Let me just tell you what happened to me by the way, everybody go to YouTube after this, go look up Steven Skybell singing Do You Love Me? Because you set it up in such a beautiful way about the state of the world right before you start singing.
Yeah.
Right before you start singing.
Yeah.
The whole song for me takes on a completely different meaning because it's not about them. It's about everything.
Right.
In the midst of everything, I just need to know.
Yeah.
I need to know because we forget about arranged marriages because they don't exist.
Right.
And in Yiddish, when the subtitle came up, I first met you at, what is it? I first met you at our wedding.
On our wedding day. The first time we met was on our wedding day.
But because I'm a musical theater, the first time we met, I'm on my wedding.
Yeah.
You don't think about it.
Yeah,
when
right.
someone's singing it in Yiddish, and by the way, the state of you both looking out like that in that YouTube video, my God.
Right. No, well, I'll tell you, I mean, that was all Joel Grey. He saw the out-of-town tryout of Fiddler when he was in DC, and he's been cooking with it in his soul since then. And he always, 2 things about what he brought to us for that. And he never stopped wanting to rehearse that song. We were doing the sound check at the drama desks where we sang Do You Love Me? And he was there directing us. And so the people had to say, we have to move along. We have to move along. There are other people who need to do their sound check. But he just is, he's a theatrical beast when it comes to rehearsing. But the thing he made me realize about Do You Love Me? One is that the notion, I mean, the musical is about love. It's about love.
Yep.
And Golda and Tevye are late to that party. And the daughters I love him. And he says, look at my daughter's eyes, he says in his monologue, so full of love and hope. She loves him. And so, and again, Fiddler is a little bit of an unusual musical that the protagonist and his wife are middle-aged people. It's not like they're the young ones.
Yes.
So even like Sunrise Sunset, it's like, where has time gone? I'm in the middle of this river. Where am I? But the point about Do You Love Me is that he's never even thought he could ask her. It was never even a word that they bandied about. So that, and rather Joel was adamant that it not be a one joke song about like electrocution. Every time the word comes, she just screams, But what's meaningful to me is that he has to ask it so many times. He's not going to get let go of it, and he's really wanting. And even I found this out. It's interesting because working on the English Fiddler, and you'll appreciate this as a musician, that we all hear Zero Mostel singing, "Do you love me?"
Exactly. That's not it.
No.
What is it?
Do you love me? Do I what? Do you love me? It's on the love. It's not you and me. It's do you
Right.
love me? And the fact that and I also love, and Joel gave us the notion that I can't even look you in the eye when I ask you that. Like, we can't look at each other. Then finally, towards the end of the song, we did look at each other. But that's when Golda, for the first time in the song, says, do I love him?
Right.
So it becomes a monologue for her.
Yes.
Anyway, I mean, I love the song, and it really is about Tevye, the guy, is waiting for the girl to say yes,
I know.
do you or don't me? And then then she says, I guess I do. And then finally he gets to say it. I guess I love you too. And like that's joy in his mouth just to get to say it to her.
There isn't an ounce of
I mean,
everybody, please give. That was a dissection of a song that we won't get again. Thank you,
Deborah,
Stephen.
are you pushing those buttons, or are other people pushing
Other people are pushing, and I'm pushing occasionally. But look, those are people. Look down. You see, they're all clapping.
No, I don't look. I only have you and me. I can't look.
That's them. Look at my hands. Okay. Now I promised everybody I wanted them to get to know who you were. So I forget Q&A. Anybody want to ask questions of Stephen, just hit those two little lines. Hit the little speak button and just send me a message and I'll ask for you, because I really have a lot to ask Stephen. Everybody, I never go over an hour, ever. A minute over.
I can't believe it's already almost halfway through. I thought, what are we going to have to talk about for an hour?
Oh, no.
You make it easy.
It's just because I truly am passionate about what I saw. And I also want you to know, I came with my co-collaborator, Sheila Ray, who was in the original Fiddler on the Roof, and she's here right now in the audience.
Wow.
So she was in the original, and she's clapping too. Okay, so I want to talk about, and this is a really rough subject to talk about. It's rough. There are a few of us out there, I don't want to say self-hating. I want to say we hide ourselves still.
Yeah.
Okay. And when I saw in the documentary about Jerome Robbins, I realized it's still going on.
Yeah.
Okay. And this show, I don't want to say it's so Jewish, but it is. Okay. Yeah. And the fact that it is reaching so many people gives me hope for the future. Okay. And gives me more of, how can I put this? A feeling of getting just excited about my being born Jewish. You know what I mean? Like, and just who I am totally, like, as a Jew. And I was wondering, when you were bar mitzvahed, correct?
Was.
Oh, okay. How was your Jewishness when you were a child? I just want to talk about that.
Yeah. Okay.
Was it that you only went on high holidays? Was it that you weren't kosher? But what? We have so many variations of being Jewish. Yes,
indeed.
What was yours?
Well, thank you for asking. It's a great question. I grew up in a small Texas town, Lubbock, Texas. There were 100 Jewish families. We had a Reformed temple that we went to. But my father was served several times as president of the temple. So I won't say, certainly when my father was president of the temple, we went more than 2 times a year. But there were, I would say, there are little 100 families. A lot of us probably went more than just 2 times a year. So but I'll say this, I was bar mitzvahed, but I did not know until adulthood that we read the Torah every week on Shabbos. No one taught me that. I did not know that. I thought you read the Torah on Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, and your bar mitzvah. and that's it. So it was in some ways a very reformed, minimal Jewish upbringing. But in that town, my grandfather lived in that town. My father and grandfather were in business together. They sold schmattes, Skybell's ladies ready to wear.
Now that is classic. You have never said that in an interview. Go ahead.
So we also went to my grandfather's house every Friday night that we were going to temple. Whenever we were going to temple, we had Friday night at my grandfather's house. And he was from a town, Suwalki, Poland, which my brother and I went to in our adulthood to visit. And my grandfather chanted the Kiddush every Friday night. And I absolutely channel that experience when I sing Sabbath prayer. That I am doing what I saw my grandfather do. But so I was Jewish, and I knew I was Jewish, and thankfully in a West Texas town, I never felt anti-Semitism growing up in the 60s, 70s. I never felt it. The only thing that ever happened that was a little curious was that I was invited by a friend to a picnic, and I went with her to this picnic, and then only when I was there found out it was a revival picnic, and I was to be saved. But I wasn't saved.
And meanwhile, I was being thrown off the bowling team in high school because I was Jewish.
Yeah, no, thankfully had nothing like that. And I would take, I would take matzah for show and tell. I mean, it was a curiosity, but no, I never felt. Yeah.
Did you get Yom Kippur? Did you get the high holidays off?
Well, we did. We got them off, but I will tell you that we only ever, Rosh Hashanah is a 2-day holiday, but we only ever went 1 day. So then there was actually an Orthodox family that came to Lubbock, and in our same elementary school, they were like, we need 2 days off for Rosh Hashanah, and the school said the Skybells only asked for 1 day, so you're only getting 1 day off.
I love it.
That's great. So I definitely felt Jewish. I identified with Jewish, and that isn't to say that when I got to college, without any kind of decision, I didn't go to high holidays for a while. I just was interested in other things, and I didn't go to the Hillel. I wish I had. I do wish I had now, but my Jewishness took a little bit of a backseat for my college years. But the same side of that token is when I had my bar mitzvah, and this is honest to goodness truth. When I had my bar mitzvah, I knew in my heart of hearts, I don't want to forget my Hebrew letters. I never want to forget them. And so that is when my brother and I thought, well, why don't we try and learn Yiddish and then with each other, and then we'll always have the letters. We'll know the letters. And so we did that. We bought textbooks and we tried to learn on the phone. We learned on the phone. How much we learned, I don't know.
Right.
But my idea of trying to keep the letters alive is what led me to Yiddish originally.
Now, here is a nice young Jewish boy from Lubbock, Texas. Not only does he come out as gay at some point, but he marries a goy.
Yeah, right.
So here you are. And, so here's the thing. And what is the term for a male goy? Is it goy?
Well, goy, it's a shagets.
Goyim is always, shagets, right.
Shagets is a male, what's the female? Is a shiksa. A shiksa and a shagets.
Exactly. Oh my God, we're speaking Yiddish.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing.
Yeah.
Were your parents okay?
Well, my dad was. My mother had passed away already.
I got it.
My dad. When I came out to my parents, that was when I was in college. I felt like my parents had classic reactions. My father, who growing up was more of the disciplinarian of our family, I told them face to face in our home. I came home from break and I told them. My father's response They surprised me. He said, "Whatever makes you happy makes me happy," and that is all a child wants to hear from.
That's it.
And that I'll tell you this: at the end of my father's life, he had some health issues towards the end of his life, and I mentioned that moment, and I said, "Dad, I don't know if you meant it or didn't mean it, but it was such a great thing that you said that." And without missing a beat, my dad said, "I meant it."
That
So
is, I need to, I'm sorry, but I am giving you applause on that one myself.
yeah,
Okay, I want to say a couple of things also about feminism and Fiddler on the Roof, because it is like a feminist piece in many ways. The
it is.
women are the ones that want to break free.
Yes.
They are.
Yeah.
And I feel like Tevye is a good dad. I got to say,
Yeah.
anyway, I got to say that. And also, I want to say that everything in a lot of Jewish music is in a minor key. But what I love about this score is sometimes, I think in Sunrise Sunset, he goes from minor to major, and then he goes back to minor, and he gives us a taste. He breaks it through a little, because for me, it's minor is sad.
Right.
It's, geschraying.
Yeah. Right.
And he manages not to do that. And it's
agree.
joyous on some bizarre level. And
Yes.
I think that's so bizarre that the whole score is mostly minor, and we feel so intense about it. I mean, most musicals, I'm telling you, the only tradition is starts out in a major key, and then these songs. Oh my God. Okay. I'm not going to get into the musical thing though, but you know what I'm talking about.
Right. For sure.
The one thing I want to tell people that they don't know about you is that you regularly water ski. Can we please talk about what a great water skier you and your husband are? Am I insane, or is that like?
Well, what do you mean? Are you insane?
I mean, you live in a lake community, and I see videos of you water skiing.
Yeah.
Wow,
the thing is, when we first moved up here, which, first of all, Michael and I have been together 26 years, so we are at that.
That's fantastic.
We are at the golden Tevye, do you love me status. And Michael played Fiedka in Fiddler on the Roof, and so he was a hot Fiedka. And so, and to answer your question though, there was a period of time I still in terms of keeping kosher, it's not that I keep kosher, but I don't eat treif. But there was a time where I didn't want to eat certain things. And Michael was the one who in restaurants would be like, "We need to know for sure, is that chicken stock in that soup or is it completely vegetarian?" So he's my Shabbos goy. I mean, he's a good Jew helpmate.
Yes, he is.
But he water skied as a kid, and so when we moved up here, we found an Israeli friend lived next door to where we were living on the other lake at that time, and they started water skiing immediately together every day. So I am a Jewish kid who only have a memory in adolescence of being dragged around the boat trying to get up but couldn't get up. So Michael, over 20 odd years now, has single-handedly forced me to become a water skier because he needs to rest sometimes and drive the boat while someone else skis. So it's been a slow process, but now I'm a slalom skier like the others.
Yes.
And I do enjoy it, but it's not been without its peril. I'll tell you this. I don't know if I ever said this in any interview. The day before the final performance of the full Monty on Broadway, I had a ski accident. And I heard something go doing, and my entire thigh from my buttocks to my knee went black and blue.
Oh my God.
And it was very painful, and I was having a hard time. And Michael's mother was seeing the final show. And so people were sort of saying like, "Oh, I don't know if you're going to be okay to do the show." People at the show, and I was like, "I'm doing the show. I'm doing the show, even though I have to strip. We put makeup on my thighs so it didn't look weird, and so I got through the show. But sometimes." Sometimes it's a little like, I don't want to hurt myself. I don't want to hurt myself.
Yeah.
So I'm a little sometimes shy about it sometimes.
Talking about all that and physical stuff, I just want to know your forecast for the fact that Fiddler was never on during the pandemic.
Right.
Now you're coming back.
Yeah.
As you know, we just ended the run of Tina. Is going to be ending this Sunday. This is our final week.
Wow.
And we had to wear masks the entire time. And the audience, now the mask mandate is off. I really want to know if your company's telling you anything about what will be happening with this version.
Haven't heard anything yet from either companies. I mean, again, Barrie Kosky, who was still in Europe, was telling me everyone's not wearing masks anywhere. I don't think there was any protocol testing for performers, anything. Right. So I don't know. I don't know what Lyric Opera of Chicago is planning to do. I'm hoping there's going to be testing, And
I don't want to get too into that because I don't want to bring it down because you have been unbelievable.
No. Right. Yeah. But the thing is that the thing that COVID, because Fiddler closed just before pandemic hit, but we were supposed to do a tour. The first port of call was to be China. And so like in February, China said to us, we can't really have you at this time. They didn't really explain it, but thank God we didn't go. Thank goodness they said we're not prepared to do this because they were already dealing with it.
Right.
But there was an Australian production, there was a national tour that was all set, and that all got scrapped. So in some ways, the Yiddish revival is trying to pick up where that momentum left off. And because of Ukraine, it seems a no-brainer to put the message out specifically about a musical about Ukraine.
Yeah.
If COVID taught me anything, it is the real reality of what it is to be alive, which is things can change in an instant. So right now I'm excited to go to Chicago. I'm excited to revive Fiddler. It could all go away. I know that it could all go away, either because world events or because of, medical catastrophes. So you just take what you can take for the day that it's given to you and you keep moving forward, but also know that there are no guarantees, so all you can do is safeguard yourself in the best way that you can, the way the government helps you and your own common sense tells you.
And now, how long did it take you to grow that beard and mustache?
I'll tell you, the truth is that after Fiddler, I really didn't want to lose it. So I trimmed it down. Then the irony is that I was cast as Karl Marx on The Good Fight on television.
Right. Oh, we didn't even talk about your television. My God.
That's okay. Oh, no, we can't. But I just want to tell you two things. One is I was cast as Karl Marx, and I was like, yes, I'm not going to have to shave my beard. But then the day before, they were like, you need to have more beard than that, so you have to shave your beard. And I was like, no. But I did have to shave my beard to play Karl Marx to get a fake beard put on. But then just last night, I dreamed that I was trimming my beard and I accidentally trimmed it all off. And I was in the dream, I was like, I have to start Fiddler in a week and I don't have a beard now. So
that's an anxiety dream, a Jewish anxiety dream. Right. I love it.
Completely. And it was a double whammy dream because I woke up and I was like, oh no, it's still there, thank God. And then I went back to sleep and then I dreamed that it really wasn't there a second time. And so this growth has been about a little over a month from a trimmed beard. And so, hopefully it'll get a little longer.
Here in the last few minutes, I just want to ask you, have you, through your agent, been getting pigeonholed at all now that you've played Tevye so brilliantly? Are you still the Steven Skybell that got all those television shows that, The Good Fight, Blue Bloods, Elementary, right. Chicago PD, Cradle Will Rock. I mean, come on.
Let me tell you this. So, in the business, everybody wants to typecast you and
Yeah.
everybody wants to pigeonhole you. But in terms of this, they don't quite know what they're doing because sometimes I'll get an offer or an audition for must speak Hebrew, an Israeli kind of, modern day Israeli must speak Hebrew. It's like, well, that's not what I did. And I don't, are you just giving me this? Are you interested because maybe I have a facility with language, but I don't speak Hebrew. So,
Right.
But I'll tell you this, back to the question about my Jewishness and never hiding it. The first film role I ever did was it was Arthur Miller's last screenplay called Everybody Wins,
Right.
and it starred Deborah Winger and Nick Nolte, directed by Carol Rice, a European man, and I played a young Catholic priest. And so that's interesting. But that's just to say, I mean, in these times now, ethnic doesn't really just say like, well, I can play anything, like now I don't know, there's a lot of young Jewish girls who were cast as Maria in West Side Story. And I don't think that is, people really want to see that. Like ethnic doesn't just mean any old ethnic,
Right. When
But
you,
what I
oh, sorry, go ahead.
love, what I do love, I want to pigeonhole myself, which is I love playing Jews. I love it. I loved playing Tevye so much that if I can continue to play Jews on television, Orthodox Jews on television, Yiddish speaking Jews, Shylock in Merchant of Venice, there is something that being Jewish and playing a Jewish part, I really loved it, and there's so much that's just in my bones that finds its way out. That I really love that experience. So I'm not opposed to only playing Jewish.
I love that. I love that. What about the future? Here we are. You're going to do a Fiddler again. When you were fresh faced, did you graduate from Yale undergrad?
Undergrad, and then I went to drama school there, Yale Drama.
And what was your major always theater?
Yeah, my major at Yale undergrad was theater studies. If my dad didn't disown me for being gay, he certainly could have disowned me for doing a theater studies major at Yale. He
love
didn't.
it. Okay, and so then you went to the graduate program,
Yeah.
right? And so you're fresh faced and you come out. What was your dream role at that point? Like you're like, I'm out. This is what I want to do. What was it?
Well, I had a little sweater that I had the 3 dream roles. I knitted a sweater during drama school, and then I put my 3 dream roles in the back of the sweater on the label. And they were Iago,
Yep.
Cyrano, and Uncle Vanya.
Love it.
Right. I've played Vanya, and I haven't done the other 2. So I would love to. And yeah, I would love to do those. But 5 minutes left. I won't tell you the story. I won't tell you this story, but I mean, can I briefly just
yes,
say?
tell the story. I'll go over a few minutes for you.
All right, no, I can tell it quick. But
Okay.
it's just to say that I had the great good fortune of the last show I did at the Yale Drama was they did 2 Eugene O'Neill. What's that? I don't know. Why is that a joke?
Someone's laughing. Okay. Thank you, Sonia. Go ahead.
They did 2 Eugene O'Neill plays in repertory: his comedy, Ah Wilderness, and his great tragedy, Long Day's Journey.
Right.
And a lot of my students, I teach sporadically Shakespeare now at NYU and Fordham, and I did it at Yale as well, don't know these names. I wonder if you know these names, Deborah. Colleen Dewhurst and Jason Robards.
Oh, please. Yes, of course. Yes.
It starred those 2 in both the comedy and the tragedy. And so and we did it at the Yale Rep, and then I graduated from drama school. A week later, I was making my Broadway debut with those plays.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just want to tell the strange trajectory. So I was a fresh-faced kid. It's a Cinderella story, right? My mother was complaining about back pains at the opening night party. A week later, she was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. 34 days later, she passed away. So what was the height of my life, having my parents, I had a boyfriend at the opening night party, and my agents, everybody was there. And then 34 days later, my life was completely in free fall. And again, it made me realize what's really important. And so it's not, I felt in my heart, a great career is nothing if you lose your mother, and family is so much more important than success. And so that is to say, those roles are not like they were sort of really classical deep roles, and that meant more to me than like, oh, I want to be, at that time I wouldn't have even known how to say this, I want a Marvel series. I wasn't thinking that way, and I still really don't think that way.
Right. And so as we sit here in the last 2 minutes, first of all, I want to thank you unbelievably for coming on here. I knew this was the only Monday we could do, and I appreciate it. If your kids are watching now that you teach, I love that you teach. What do you say to them the most about acting, and what is the most important thing to pass on to the kids you're teaching now?
Well, I teach Shakespeare, and Shakespeare's a little bit like Yiddish because it can be a foreign language, So the most important thing is to be true and real and have it be lived as opposed to anything else, And I also tell them, I want you to be successful. I want you to go win an Academy Award, but do come back to Shakespeare and let Shakespeare help you become a better actor and human being. If you become successful, let Shakespeare enjoy that success as well.
Well, Stephen Skybell, you have been so fantastic.
Well,
this is the Wait Bot. Everybody, can we please have major applause?
Thank you, everyone. It's been a delight, Deborah.
Yes, you are the greatest for coming here. Thank you.